Hey, Jonathan, while we're staying with the roster talk, let's go back to the offense and the offensive line. Probably the worst unit, would you agree with me, in the last 3 to 5 years on the team?
I definitely would agree with that.
Okay. So part of that's recruiting. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the recruiting on the offensive line has been okay, but it's not been up to the standards of the other units. And then I think it's been more development, lack of development across the offensive line. So what gives you hope that that's going to change?
Yeah, so I think when you look at the class that they brought in, I mean, you're right. It's development, and it's not just about bringing in talent. I don't think Texas has ever really struggled to bring in talent, although I think they've brought in more talent over the last year than they have in a few years, especially towards the end of the Tom Herman era. I talked about this on Locked On Longhorns the other day. I think the reason that it's going to be different is because when you look at the caliber of the class that they brought in offensive line wise, and just the talent around them that they have on offense, I think that the offensive line is going to be a lot better. What I looked at is when you bring in a historic offensive line class like the one that they did, my simple premise is that the best players in high school turn out to be the best players in college, and the best players in college ultimately go on to be the best players in the NFL, right? And so when we look at Devin Campbell, he was the 9th overall recruit in the country at guard. I think that he can come in and start, probably will come in and start right away at left guard. I did some research, and according to 24/7's recruiting rankings, from 2010 to 2019, every number one overall offensive line recruit made it to the NFL level. The 2020 top offensive line recruit, Paris Johnson Jr. at Ohio State, he is a projected first-round pick in next year's draft. So what that tells me is that 24/7 usually gets it right, and the top offensive line recruit in each class, a decade's worth of data tells me, is an NFL player. Devin Campbell was the number one offensive line recruit in this class, and so that tells me that he has at least NFL talent based off of a decade's worth of data. Kelvin Banks, the number 32 overall recruit in the country, the number one offensive tackle, he's coming in. I think he can slot right in as your left tackle. Sark said that his staff believes that he could be a future top 5 pick at the left tackle position. You look at Cole Hudson, who was the one out of the 7 who enrolled early. He's been on campus since January. So although he'll be a true freshman, he worked his way up to first team reps in the spring, had a really good spring, and he's kind of getting that head start, being able to enroll early. So yes, he'll still be getting his first game experience in September, but he's a true freshman that's been on campus for 8 months. And so the reason I think the offensive line will be better is because I think that they're adding NFL type talent to this offensive line. I know they're not NFL players right now, but I believe in 3 to 4 years, we'll be looking at Kelvin Banks and Devin Campbell as NFL players. And that's why I think that this offensive line will be better. And, we bring on John Garcia, director of football recruiting from Sports Illustrated. And I talked to him about this. And the one thing that he said is, in college football, you don't want to rely on freshmen if you don't have to. But every year there are true freshmen that come in and show that they belong in college football. And I think that's what you're going to see from Devin Campbell and Kelvin Banks at least. And that's why I have faith that this offensive line will be better.